In the village of Limora, where the mountains kissed the clouds, lived a girl named Elara who could weave starlight. Not with thread or loom, but with her hands, which danced through the air, pulling silver threads from the night sky. The villagers called her the Starweaver, a gift from the heavens, they said. Every night, Elara climbed the highest hill, her bare feet brushing dew-kissed grass, and wove shimmering tapestries that hung above Limora, protecting it from the shadows that crept beyond the mountains. But Elara was no hero in her own eyes. She was 16, with tangled auburn hair and a heart full of questions. Why could she weave starlight? Why did the stars whisper her name? And why, lately, did her tapestries fray, letting slivers of darkness slip through? One night, as she wove under a crescent moon, the stars spoke clearly for the first time. "Elara," they hummed, their voices like a chorus of bells. "The Skyheart is fading. Find it, or the world will unravel." Elara froze, her hands glowing with starlight. "The Skyheart? What is it? Where is it?" she asked. But the stars fell silent. A cold wind swept over the hill, and her tapestry tore apart, threads scattering like fireflies. Below, Limora's lights flickered and a low growl echoed from the mountains. Lara's heart pounded. Whatever the Skyheart was, she had to find it. She didn't know how, but she knew one thing: the stars had chosen her, and there was no turning back. By dawn, Elara had packed a satchel with bread, a flint, and her mother's old cloak, its hem embroidered with silver threads that shimmered faintly. She left a note for her parents, promising to return, and slipped out of Limora before the village woke. The mountains loomed ahead, their peaks shrouded in mist, and the path was little more than a goat trail winding into the unknown. As she climbed, the air grew sharp, and the whispers of the stars faded. Elara felt alone, until she heard the snap of a twig behind her. She spun around, hands glowing faintly with starlight, ready to weave a shield. "Who's there?" she called. A figure emerged from the shadows, a boy no older than her with sharp green eyes and a grin like a fox. His clothes were patched, his boots caked in mud. "Easy, Starweaver," he said, raising his hands. "I'm just a traveller. Name's Kael." Elara didn't lower her hands. "You're following me. Why?" Kael shrugged, but his eyes gleamed with mischief. "Heard about you in Limora, girl who weaves the sky. Figured you'd lead to something interesting, maybe treasure." "I'm not after treasure," Elara snapped. "I'm on a quest. The Skyheart. Ever heard of it?" Clary's grin faded, and for a moment his face was unreadable. "Skyheart? Huh? Old legend. A gem that holds the world's light, lost for centuries. You really think you can find it?" "I have to," Elara said. "The stars told me." Kael laughed, but it wasn't mocking. "Well, you'll need help. Mountains are crawling with shadow beasts. I'm good with a dagger, and better at not getting caught. What do you say, Starweaver? Partners?" Elara hesitated. Kael was a thief, she could see it in his quick fingers and sharper smile, but the mountains were vast, and the growls from last night still haunted her. "Fine," she said, "but if you betray me, I'll weave you into the sky and leave you there." Kael's grin returned. Deal. For 2 days, Elara and Kael trekked through the mountains, the path growing steeper and the air colder. Elara wove small starlight shields at night to keep them warm, while Kael scouted ahead, his daggers flashing in the moonlight. He told stories of his life as a thief, stealing from cruel merchants, dodging city guards, but never spoke of family or home. Elara wondered what he was running from, but she didn't ask. She had her own secrets. On the 3rd night, they reached a canyon where the stars seemed dim, as if afraid to shine. The air smelled of ash, and the ground was littered with bones. "This is a bad place," Kael whispered, his hand on a dagger. Before Elara could reply, a roar shook the canyon. A shadow beast lunged from the darkness, its body like smoke and claws, its eyes burning red. It was massive, taller than a house, and its jaws snapped inches from Elara's face. "Run!" Kael shouted, hurling a dagger that sank into the beast's flank but did nothing to slow it. Elara's hands glowed as she wove frantically, pulling starlight from the faint sky. She crafted a net of shimmering threads and flung it over the beast. It howled, thrashing, but the net held. For now. Kael, help me! She cried. Kael darted forward, slicing at the beast's legs, but it swiped him aside, sending him crashing into the rocks. Ilaria's heart lurched. She wove faster, her fingers burning, and tightened the net until the beast collapsed, its form dissolving into smoke. She ran to Kael, who groaned but sat up, blood trickling from his temple. "Not bad, Starweaver," he rasped, "but next time, weave something sharper." Elara helped him stand, her hands shaking. The canyon was quiet now, but the stars above flickered weakly. "The Skyheart's close," she said, feeling it in her bones, "but so is the darkness." Kael wiped the blood from his face and nodded. "Then we keep going, together." The canyon gave way to a plateau where the air felt heavy, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Elara and Kael moved cautiously, their footsteps muffled by a strange moss that glowed faintly underfoot. Ahead loomed the ruins of the Skyheart, a crumbling temple carved into the mountainside. Its spires, once grand, were choked with vines, and its arched entrance pulsed with a dim, silver light. Elara's heart quickened. She could feel the Skyheart calling, a faint hum in her bones. "This place gives me the creeps," Kael muttered, his daggers drawn. His eyes scanned the shadows, still bruised from the Shadow Beast fight. "You sure this is it?" Elara nodded, her hands tingling with starlight. "The stars led me here. It's inside." They stepped through the entrance, and the world shifted. The air grew warm, and the walls shimmered with glyphs that flickered like constellations. Elara traced one with her finger, and it flared, whispering a word she couldn't quite catch. "This temple, it's alive," she said, awe threading her voice. Kael snorted, but his grip on his daggers tightened. "Alive or not, we're not alone. Look." He pointed to fresh claw marks gouged into the stone floor, too precise to be random. "Something's guarding this place." They pressed deeper, following a spiraling corridor that descended into the mountain. The hum grew louder, and Elara's hands glowed brighter, casting silver light across the walls. At the corridor's end was a vast chamber, its ceiling open to the night sky. In the center, on a pedestal of black stone, floated a gem the size of a fist, pulsing with light like a captured star. The Skyheart. Elara stepped forward, mesmerized, but Kael grabbed her arm. "Wait!" he hissed. Above them, the stars dimmed and a figure materialized from the shadows. A woman cloaked in darkness, her eyes like twin voids. Her voice was ice. "Starweaver, you've come far, but the Skyheart is mine." "Who are you?" Elara demanded, weaving a shield of starlight instinctively. The woman smiled, sharp and cold. "I am Nyra, keeper of the void. The Skyheart's power belongs to those who dare to claim it. Step aside, child, or join the shadows." Kael stepped beside Elara, daggers gleaming. "Big talk for someone hiding in the dark. Let's see you try." Nyra's laugh echoed, and the chamber trembled. Shadows coalesced around her, forming claws and fangs. Elara tightened her shield, her heart pounding. The Skyheart pulsed brighter, as if urging her forward. She didn't know Nyra's power, but she knew one thing. The stars had chosen her, and she wouldn't let them down. The chamber shook as Nyra's shadows surged forward, a writhing mass of claws and teeth. Elora's starlight shield flared, holding back the onslaught, but her arms trembled under the strain. The Skyheart pulsed on its pedestal, its light flickering like a heartbeat, urging her to act. "Kael, now!" she shouted. Kael darted through the chaos, daggers flashing as he slashed at the shadow tendrils. "Keep that shield up, Starweaver," he called, dodging a claw that grazed his shoulder. Blood stained his sleeve, but he didn't falter, carving a path toward Nyra. Nyra stood unmoved, her void-like eyes locked on Elara. "You're strong," she purred, her voice cutting through the din. But starlight fades. The void is eternal. She raised a hand, and the shadows coalesced into a massive serpent, its jaws wide enough to swallow Elara whole. Elara's heart raced, but the Skyheart's hum steadied her. She dropped to one knee, hands weaving faster than ever, pulling starlight from the open ceiling above. "I'm not fading yet," she growled. Her fingers danced, crafting a spear of pure light, sharp and blazing. With a cry, she hurled it at the serpent, piercing its core. The creature shrieked, dissolving into wisps of smoke. Kael seized the moment, lunging at Nyra. His dagger struck her cloak, but she vanished, reappearing behind him with a laugh. "Foolish thief," she hissed, shadows coiling around his legs, pinning him to the ground. "You're nothing." Elara's blood boiled. She wove a net of starlight and flung it over Kael, burning the shadows away. He scrambled free, panting. "Thanks," he gasped, but there was no time for more. Nyra was advancing, her form growing larger, darker, as if swallowing the chamber's light. Elara turned to the Skyheart, its glow now faint. She didn't know how to claim it, but she felt its call, like a song only she could hear. "Guide me," she whispered to the stars. A warmth flooded her, and her hands moved on instinct, weaving a bridge of light between her and the gem. The Skyheart lifted, floating toward her, but Nyra's scream shattered the air. "Now!" Nyra roared, shadows exploding outward. Elara clutched the Skyheart as the chamber began to collapse, stones crashing around them. Kael grabbed her arm. "We need to go. Now!" With the Skyheart in her hands and Nyra's shadows at their heels, Elara ran, the stars above blazing brighter, as if cheering her on. But Nyra's voice echoed behind them. "You can't outrun the void, Starweaver." Elara clutched the Skyheart to her chest as she and Kael sprinted through the collapsing temple, stones crashing like thunder behind them. The gem pulsed warmly in her hands, its light cutting through the dust and darkness. Kael led the way, his bloodied shoulder not slowing him as he navigated the twisting corridors. "Faster, Starweaver," he shouted, dodging a falling slab. "Unless you want to be buried with your prize." Elara's lungs burned, but the Skyheart's hume kept her moving, like a melody urging her forward. The temple groaned, and Nyra's shadows slithered after them, whispering promises of despair. "You cannot escape," Nyra's voice echoed, chilling Elara's blood. "The Skyheart will be mine." They burst out of the temple into the night, the plateau bathed in starlight. Elara skidded to a halt, gasping, and wove a shield of light just as a wave of shadows erupted from the entrance. The shield held, but barely, cracks forming under the pressure. "Kael, I can't hold this long," she cried. Kael scanned the plateau, his sharp eyes catching a narrow path winding down the mountain. "There!" he pointed. "If we reach the valley, we might lose her in the forest." He grabbed Elara's arm, pulling her toward the path. "Move!" They ran, the Skyheart's glow lighting their way. The path was treacherous, loose rocks slipping underfoot, but Elara's fear of Nyra's shadows outweighed her fear of falling. Behind them, the temple crumbled into the mountain, and Nyra's form emerged from the rubble, her cloak billowing like a storm cloud. She raised a hand, and the shadows surged forward, faster now, gaining ground. Elara's hands glowed as she wove a burst of starlight, scattering the nearest shadows. But the effort drained her, and she stumbled. Kael caught her, his grip firm. "You're not giving up now," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Not after all this." Elara nodded, clutching the Skyheart tighter. Its light flared, and for a moment, she saw a vision. A golden city under a radiant sky. Its people safe, its stars eternal. "It's showing me where to go," she whispered. "A place called Aetherion. We have to get there." Kael's eyes widened, but he didn't question her. "Then we run for it, together." As they descended into the valley, the forest loomed ahead, its trees tall and ancient. Nyra's shadows slowed, as if wary of the woods, but her voice carried on the wind. "Run, Starweaver! I'll find you! The void always does!" Elara and Kael plunged into the forest, the Skyheart's light guiding them, but the weight of Nyra's words clung to Elara's heart. Aetherion was their hope, but the path to it was far from safe.